a todos mis amigos en México. Hola Chile. Hola Canada. I don't know how to speak French, so there you go. And everyone in the United States. So I thought this was going to be the group, but now we just found out that this is being recorded and viewed everywhere else throughout the country. So fantastic. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Thank you for putting this together, and thank you for caring so much for your people to have them all here. This is a pleasure to be here. And this came out of a lunch meeting in the middle of Mexico City. So I was invited to a lunch. I walked in, and there was the Mexico president having lunch with this wonderful people. And we got into a conversation about developing people and inclusion. So here we are. That's how this started. So thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here today. I do want to make sure to give you an update. So we do have scores, and we do get rated on customer service for the company. So for the first half of 2017, Diana Kelly, the PAC South, was the number one and was recognized by the officers of the company for the best customer service in the company. So just an update to the introduction. So why do I tell you that? I think that today we're going to talk about how do we feel more confident, or how do we continue to work to continue to grow within our organization. Home Depot, Bear, doesn't matter, it's the same. So I want to start with a couple of things. And you're going to have a lot of thoughts with what I'm going to give you right now. But I want you to close your eyes. Yes, I am serious. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think of I am. And I want you to say that a few times. To yourself. Be quiet, please. Now, I know that while you're doing this, your mind is wandering. Your mind is wandering. You're thinking about, why am I here today? Why am I wasting my time? Oh my God, I had to drive 2 hours to get here. When I get home, I'm going to have to deal with my husband that doesn't clean up after himself. My wife, she only wants me to do honey-do list all the time. I want you to stop thinking about all of that. And if your mind goes into that thought or any of those thoughts, just take it back to I am. And I want you to, for about 30 seconds, just say to yourself, I am. I am. Without allowing any other thoughts to get into your mind, I am. And now I want you to answer 3 questions. The first question is, I am. I want to have. And who would I be? And now you can open your eyes. How long did that take?
30 seconds.
A little bit longer than 30 seconds. How many of you actually have meditated before? So those of you that did not raise your hand, let me give you some news. You just meditated. And that was 1 minute of meditation. A lot of times we don't take time to ourselves to stop and think of what's important. So I want you to make a commitment to yourself, starting here today, that you're going to take the time. It doesn't take 5 hours. It doesn't take 3 hours. It can be a 1 minute meditation moment that can make you feel very differently. So that's the first assignment, because I'm going to give you some assignments today. That's assignment number 1. How did that feel? Can anybody give me some thoughts? How did that feel? Excellent. Relaxing. Calming. Peaceful. So every other thought that you had, you thought, and you went back to I am. And a lot of times when we are at work or we're in our careers, we get so bogged down with so many different things, you need to stop. You need to slow down. Here's the second assignment that I'm going to give you. Think about the last time that you complained. When was the last time when was the last time you actually complained? When was the last time that you criticized? And when was the last time that you condemned? So here's the assignment. When you finish today, the first hour after we finish here and you walk back to wherever you're going, I want you to commit to 1 hour without condemning, without criticizing, and without complaining. 1 hour. I'm just asking you for 1 hour. And then make this very difficult to do. Well, you're here, so it's an assignment. 1 hour. After you do this for 1 hour, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get for you to do it on a regular basis. I want you to remember something about Diane Kelly, and hopefully it will be the one thing that sticks with you. I am so busy, loving my life, that I have absolutely no time for regret, for fear, or for anger. No time whatsoever. I went to my husband a while back and I said, what does it really mean to hate something or hate somebody? I don't know what that feels like. I am so busy loving my life that I spend so much time just doing things that make me happy. So we have 2 assignments. Can I have your commitment? Very weak. Can I have your commitment? Thank you. And by the way, that was was that complaining? Maybe. I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about Diana. So I am not from this country. I was shipped to this country in a boat, and yes. I was born in South America, Colombia. And my father decided that living in the United States was the best thing to do for his kids. So we get on a boat and we get sent on a plane. It wasn't. And we get sent to the United States. So I came to this country, I was 12 years old. 12 years old, we moved to Long Island. And actually, no, it was Queens. Very close, if you're familiar with New York. I was placed in a store, PS 109. I will never forget it. PS 109. I was 12 years old. And I was placed in the school, and the school did not have English as a second language. So I don't know if any of you have English as a second language, but I do. And it was very, very difficult. I was in a school that was probably the worst case scenario for me, I thought. Did not speak the language, I was pushed. I remember going from one classroom to another classroom and being pushed, being shoved into the corner, being carried into a garbage can. My shoes were stolen so many different times. My backpack was filled with water, just bullied. So if you never experienced bullying, I have. It's pretty painful at the age of 12. Very, very painful. And I had a couple of choices. So I made the very, very adult choice to stop going to school. I said to myself, I'm going to use this lunch money. I'm going to go to a Walgreens or pharmacy, and I picked up a dictionary. And I stopped going to school, and I'm going to tell you, it was a period of 2 months. I stopped going to school, and I tried to teach myself how to speak English with a dictionary while sitting in a park or sitting somewhere else away from school. 2 months later, the school calls my home and says, by the way, this kid, Diana, I think she's your daughter, has not been to school in the last 2 months. So my parents pulled me into this room and they start yelling at me. I'm like, why are you yelling at me? You should be mad at the school. It took them 2 months to realize. Really? Don't get mad at me. I was just doing what I thought was the right thing to do. So, needless to say, they put me in a different school. And this school did happen to have English as a second language. So I went to that school. It took me about a year to learn the language. And I ended up graduating from high school at the age of 16. Because I was pretty smart, I thought. So graduated from high school with full scholarship to college. So let's pause there for a second. A lot of us think that we have obstacles in our lives. I just gave you my very personal obstacle in life and how I overcame that. Now, I will not recommend for anyone to stop going to school and try to teach themselves English. That was totally crazy. But that's what I thought at the time was the right thing to do, because I couldn't live in that environment. It was really, really detrimental. And I'm glad that I did, because I'm not sure what else could have happened to me if I would have stayed there. Graduating at the age of 16 from high school with a full scholarship to college, to a private female college in the city of New York, Manhattan. And I was going to school, and my major was psychology. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be better than anyone else that I had come across while I was trying to grow in this country. And unfortunately, my mom had some setbacks with her health, so I had to stop school and find a few more jobs to help her, which I don't regret. So think about my life and the struggles coming here, and think about the struggles that you have today, and what keeps you from moving on and moving up. Who really determines what happens to you in your career? Who determines that? You do. No one else. The main reason why I shared my personal story with you, which is extremely personal, is to show you that we all have the power to do what we want to do. You have the power to get to that next level. You are empowered to do anything you want to do with your career. So I had about 3 jobs, an overnight job, 3 jobs during the day, just trying to help my mom. Really difficult. But I learned a lot. I learned to persevere, which was a very good lesson in my life at a very young age. I started with Home Depot, and I'm not going to share the story, but maybe at a different time I'll tell you why I came to Home Depot. And I started working with Home Depot as a part-time cashier. The second week of me being a cashier at the Home Depot in a Farmingdale store in New York, Long Island, I had a head cashier named Vivian said to Diana, "You will never go anywhere because you're a female and you're Hispanic." 2 weeks into Home Depot, I looked at her, I'm like, holy crap. It's never gonna happen if I have to deal with people like you. It's true. I mean, I was pretty open and vocal. 2 weeks later, she lost her job. But it wasn't the first time, and that wasn't the reason. There's people like that we still come across that don't belong in our company. And we do not tolerate that. So you have to be able to speak up. And a lot of times we don't do that. If something's bothering you, what do? You keep it to yourself and you let it fester. And what happens? What happens? It gets worse. You get angry. And then you're spending so much time being angry and hating that you take the time away from loving who you are. So if you have a problem and you have a difficult situation with somebody, I'm going to give you some advice. Confront them. Have a conversation with them. Be open. What's the worst that can happen? They'll fire you. And if they do fire you, that company does not deserve you. I really believe that. So started working with Home Depot, part-time cashier, moved through every position in the company, every single position. My career kind of moved a little bit fast. Sometimes I think a little bit too fast for me. But I will tell you that I made a mistake. For 5 years, I made a mistake and I wasted 5 years of my Home Depot career. Because, number one, I wasn't confident. Remember, I was a female and I'm a female, Hispanic. I wasn't confident that I could achieve the next level. 5 years, that's a long time to waste. How many of you today are sitting in your roles and are thinking, I don't think that I can do that? Some of us do. So you have to work with your inner critic. Do you know what your inner critic is? Do you have an inner critic? Yes, we all do. Let's talk about inner critic for a minute, if you don't mind. Can I? Thank you. So a lot of you did not respond. That's your inner critic. Should I respond? Is that a trick question? That's your inner critic. So let me introduce you to Celeste. Celeste is my inner critic. I have an inner critic, and I love my inner critic so much that I've actually named her. Her name is Celeste. How many of you have an inner critic? Everyone does. Everyone does. If I asked you, would you stand up and tell me the story of your life, or what do you want to do next, or what are you really good at? How many of you would actually stand up? My point. Why not? Because there's something telling you, don't do it. You're going to make a fool of yourself. Trust me, you've done this before, you make a fool of yourself. How many of you have been in an event, somebody asks you a question, you hold on to the information or to the question, and then somebody else asks that question, and you're like, damn it, that was the question I was going to ask. How many of you have experienced that? It happens often.
It happened right now.
That's right. Thank you so much. The hand with the pen and the paper.
First I read that, she said that I kind of notepad, so you're impressed with that. So.
I was impressed. I'm like, you have a notepad and a pen. You're taking notes. I'm impressed.
My only complaint, I should bring 2 notepads.
So what I want you to do is going forward, you need to embrace your inner critic. And if you don't do that, you're going to have some struggles. And you may be sitting there right now thinking, no, that doesn't exist. Let me tell you something. It does exist. It happens at home, it happens at work, it happens more often than you think. So if you have a thought, if you have an idea, and you're in an event like this, and somebody asks a question, what's the worst that can happen? That people laugh at you? Which, by the way, here's a leadership class. If somebody gives you an answer to a question that you have asked, and it's completely unrelated or wrong in many different ways, don't laugh. Say, thank you, I appreciate, that could be possible. But a lot of times we give an idea, and people are like, no, I wish it was that, and we all start laughing, and we make fun of the person. What does that do to that individual? Shut them down. They'll never answer again. So that was a separate leadership class that I just gave you. Let's go back to the inner critic. So you have one, embrace it, talk to it. Whenever I have to go and do presentations in front of the CEO, Celeste is always with me. She never wants to leave me alone. And I said, dear Celeste, we can go have some Thai food later on today. But I need you to shut up right now. And she does. And then I start doing my own thing, and I have a wonderful time, and it's really fun. So you have to think about the things that are holding you back. You have to think and you have to embrace the things that are holding you back. Now let's talk a little bit about moving on. So 25 years with Home Depot, part-time cashier. Couldn't do it because I'm a cashier, female, Hispanic, right? 25 years later, an officer of this company, which is an amazing company. There's only 19 of us that do this job. I have the pleasure to do this. But I will tell you, it was not easy. If you think Home Depot, you don't think a woman's world, do you? It was not easy. You think of orange racking and air paint. A lot of paint, and a lot of overheads, and a lot of conversations. Are those safe? It's a lot of product. It wasn't easy, Tim. It wasn't easy. But I focused on 3 things. And this is what I want you to walk away with. 3 things. And it is an acronym. PIE. So 3 things. PIE. Easy to remember. PIE. Pizza pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie. P stands for performance. Performance. I stands for image. And E stands for exposure. And we're going to concentrate on these 3 things for the rest of the time that we have together before we open it up for questions. So here's the first test for all of you. Do you have any questions? Get that inner critic, get in the way. Obviously you did not learn anything. Let's try it again. Do you have any questions? You gotta try it. Just make up something.
Which one's more important?
Thank you so much. Which one is more important? So here's the inner critic in you. Why wouldn't all of you have some random question? It was a test. So practice, practice, practice. Practice, practice. Because if you're doing that here, this very comfortable environment, this is very casual. I don't think you can get more casual than this. If you're doing that here, what are you doing when you're actually in that situation when people are assessing you to get to that next level? You have to let that inner critic go. And I am trying to push you right now and tell you, make it happen right here within 5 minutes. It took me about 6 months to make it happen. But work on it, please work on it. So back to pie, which is the most important. They all have a weight to them, a percent. All of them have a percent. What do you think performance weighs? What do you think is the weight of performance? What percent? 60, 80?
50 plus.
50 plus? 30? 75? 25? Okay. See what we do, see what I'm doing? I'm like, all of these numbers are really good. Some of them are way off. But I'm not saying that. Am I laughing? No. I'm like, good numbers, really good numbers. Even though they're really way off. We're not going to talk about that. That was the leadership class that I gave you. Performance weighs 40%. 40%. So if you don't have the performance, and all of us get ranked with some type of metrics, yes? Some type of document, there's a performance review that we get on a regular basis. You're doing your job or you're not doing your job. So let's stay with that. That's 40%. 40%. Exposure, what do you think? 30? 20? Exposure, another 40%. Exposure, another 40%. What does exposure mean? Visibility, what else? What does exposure mean? Communication, what else?
Visibility.
Visibility,
Leadership.
people to know you, opportunity, leadership, all of that, actually all of that. Does exposure mean you gotta be on top, or you gotta be walking with people all the time, or you gotta have them walking through your area all the time? That's some of the exposure. But here's a better way to find exposure. So if you work in a specific department, and I'm gonna relate it to Home Depot because I'm not sure the different departments that we have in here. But if we're working in a store, exposure will mean that somebody drives the best possible performance when it comes to some metric that we measure. So I'll give you the example. The Pac South, which is our region, has a lot of exposure right now because we are the best when it comes to customer service metrics in the company for the year. That's exposure. So before anything else, before standing in front of somebody, walking with somebody, for me, exposure and to create a brand is to deliver on the #1 metric in the company, which is not even sales. It's customer service. Because if you're taking care of the customers that well, the rest will come. That's exposure. And I am so proud of that young lady back there. They'll raise their hand.
I regret it. Well, I do have a question. So what contributed to that success? You said that you were ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. How did you get there?
Okay, so have you heard, her question was, what has contributed to the success, which is actually 2 years in a row, customer service, best customer service in the company. So have you ever heard, before somebody gets something, they have to talk about it 21 times? What is that saying? You have to say it 21 times before somebody gets it? To create a habit? Well, that's a total lie. It takes more than 21 times. And I'm here to tell you, it is true. So I talk about customer service every single day. Every single day. And when I go into a store, and the team that was with me yesterday, I am such a freak. If I'm walking, I don't care who's walking with me. I'll be walking with Craig Manier, the CEO of the company. And a customer walks by me, I don't care what he's saying. I'm going to turn, I'm going to say, what are you looking for? What do you need help with? that sends such a message to the entire region. And I also do a little fun test when I walk into the stores. If I get to greet a customer before anyone that works in the store does, they have to buy me lunch. And I love to eat Thai food. So it's just the expectation. I go into every single store and I expect my customer to be the number one priority. They take care of us, they pay our checks. But it's also a lot of perseverance. And it's not 21 times, it's talking to the associates every single day about the same thing. It's you gotta build a brand and you gotta create it, make it an expectation.
By example.
And you gotta lead by example. You gotta definitely lead by example. If I didn't do that, do you think that my people would be so aggressive to take care of the customers? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But they know. Do not let a customer walk by without you engaging with them. And I do not accept a hello or a nod if a customer is walking by. I expect them to actually ask a question that is not an open-ended question. What are you looking for? Something like that. Great question, and it's just a lot of perseverance and a lot of conversation and a lot of talks, but also a lot of recognition. So today we just celebrated the best stores that are in the region that are driving that service. And when I did my mid-year reviews with my district managers, I gave them all a really nice, heavy crystal award. Great job for what you're doing. So you always, always have to tie it into recognition. If you don't do that, your people are not going to feel valued. It meant a lot to me when I got that big crystal thing from Anne Marie Campbell. It was really heavy. I'm like, I wasn't expecting it. We got it again. I guess I wasn't really thinking about it. It's just part of nature. So exposure, 40%, and then the last one is image, and that just leaves 20%. What is image? What does that really mean? Image. Perception. Wow. Within the first 90 seconds, this is a fact. Within the first 90 seconds of you meeting somebody, they will have made a perception about you. It's a fact. I know that within the first 90 seconds of me standing up here, you had a perception of what the day was going to be like. I hope I did not let you down. And I know you also looked at my shoes and said, wow, those are nice shoes. That's a perception. It never fails. It never fails. Every store walk, it's like an expectation now. So, my mother is an angel. She's amazing. 20 years ago, when I was financial stable, I called her up and I said, Mom, I want you to quit. 21 years ago, I want you to quit your job, I want you to sell your home, and I want you to move in with me. And she said, yes, okay. I wasn't really expecting her to say yes. She did, oh my God. 21 years later, I tell people when I'm walking with them, I still live at home with my mom. And they're like, you do, really? So here's the thing about my mother. So I've been with her, I adore my mother, and I am blessed to have her in my life. So she lives at home with me, in her own little casita. But my mom has a job. My mom has a job, and she sat me down last week. She actually sent me an invite for a meeting, because she needed to seriously talk to me. So we sat down to have this meeting, and my mom has a job. Her job is to, she thinks, please, let me be clear. She thinks her job is to buy me shoes. So she sat down with me last week and she says, Diana, I've been doing this for about a year and a half. You know, I'm glad you have a lot of fun. Your people at work love your shoes. But I'm not really getting anything out of this. I think I need to start getting paid. I'm like, are you joking? She's like, no. So I said, Mom, I'm going to have to think about this because I don't know what to say right now. So she loves making me happy. And I love making her happy. And if it is a matter of buying me a new pair of shoes today, you know what? I am going to let her be happy. She is my life, and she took care of me. You know, it's time for me to take care of her and give back to her. Image, 20%. Not just how you dress. Always remember that if you want to be in a higher position, you need to dress what you aspire to be. So if you want to be a president, which I do have an aspiration to become the president of the Mexico Home Depot stores, for all of my friends in Mexico, that is my aspiration. If you do have an aspiration, you need to dress the part. Does that make sense? If you have an aspiration to go to that next level, you need to behave the part. You need to lead like you're in that role. When I'm walking stores, we were walking yesterday with our president and a couple other people. I got the best compliment I could have gotten from another RVP. He said, the knowledge, the engagement, and the leadership of your department managers is like if they were store managers. And I said, that's what I strive for. My department managers need to behave and lead like the ASMs. And my ASMs, my assistant managers, need to lead like their store managers. That way my store managers could start acting like district managers. So when you're in your job today and you want to be somebody else, or you want to be at that next level, are you acting that part? Are you behaving that way? Or are you waiting for the workload to come to you? Or are you waiting for people to knock on the door and say, hey, are you ready? What are you doing differently? So I'll challenge you with that. You gotta challenge yourself. So there's 19 positions in this role, in this particular RVP regional vice president role. There's 19 in the company. How long do you think the list is for people to get into this role? Fortune 500, rank number 23. Great job. Great position, great career for anyone. But what do you do differently? What do you do differently to separate yourself to when it comes to that position, when it comes to that interview, you are the only person that is best qualified. Because if I have an opening today and I interview those 3 people and they're equally qualified to do the job, what sets one apart from the other? This is image. What sets one apart from the other? The notepad. The notepad. Literally the notepad. I was like, it was really funny. It's a great example. What sets you apart? So if I want to be considered for the next job, I need to make sure that I deliver on the critical metrics of the company, what it's important for the company. So I gotta make money, because this is not a charitable organization. I have to make money. I have to take care of my customers, and I have to be exceptionally well with my people. And I got that one nailed there. So what are you doing differently to bring to the table for image when you go to that event, when you go to that interview? A lot of times when we interview with someone for a job and we don't get the job, what's the first thing that happens? When we interview and we don't get the job, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Disappointed, right? What else? Anger. Anger is a good one. What did you say? Somebody? Depression. Yes. You clam out. And you know what? Thank you so much for not allowing your inner critic to get in the way, or yours to get in the way, and for speaking up. You guys are failing my test. I will ask a question at the end of this recording to see if you all pass the test. All of those feelings get in the way, and then what do? We get mad. And we, instead of trying to find out, okay, what could I have done differently, we start worrying about that person did not deserve the job. You know what? They got the job for a reason. Let it go. Let it go. And if you don't understand let it go watch Frozen. Let it go. I actually have a bracelet that says let it go. It's critical. How many times do you not send a note, an email, or give something to somebody and they don't respond? And you dwell on it for days. Let it go. If you're going to worry that much about a response, don't even send it. Don't even send it. Just let it go. You're laughing because this has happened to you, right? I sent an email like 2 months ago. I wasn't expecting a response. I've changed that thought process such a long time ago. If I send something, I do not expect a response. Let it go. You did your part. So when you're working on, am I standing out? How do you stand out from everybody else? What are you doing differently? You have to come up with at least 3 things that are going to separate you from everybody else. If all of you want to get to the next level, the number one thing that you need to change today after you leave here is to start thinking that yes, you can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You need to change that. The moment that you change that, things will change for you. Because you will have a different attitude towards anything that you do going forward. My attitude today is to be the best possible leader that I can for this company. I want my legacy to be the most engaged vice president in the Home Depot. So do you all have a legacy? And what are you doing differently to make an impact? You gotta start with believing in yourself. Don't make the mistake that I made. I wasted 5 years of my Home Depot career not thinking that I could do the job. That was one. The other reason is not knowing exactly where I needed to go. So those of you that are leaders in here, I'm gonna challenge you to take people under your wing and help them try to realize, what do I need to do? Where am I going? What's my next step? Because a lot of times you don't even know. What does that look like? What do I do? You gotta ask questions, team. Now, if you get feedback and you don't like it, do something to change it. But I will tell you, if going forward you go through an interview and you don't get the job, you know what? Embrace it. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, what could I have done differently? When I went for this interview, there were 5 other people very highly qualified to take this job. Very highly qualified. Think about being an officer of this company. It's a really big deal. This is a really, really desirable job and career. And I was asked the question, why you? Why you? I had a long list. I had a long list because I've been working on separating myself from everybody else. I needed to find the things that were going to make me so competitive that no one else was going to be able to beat me. But we don't do that on a regular basis. We get so caught up on what somebody else should have done that they haven't done for us, that we don't think about the things that we own and our own responsibility to continue to grow others to help you, and to continue to make a difference in your life. Those are the things that are really, really important. Really, really important. I have a question. What questions do you have? And one single person in the back raised his hand. Don't allow your inner critic to get in the way. So I'm not sure how we are on time. I'm just talking.
We're doing fine.
We're doing fine.
So we're good to go with questions.
Oh, first, what questions? Okay, yes, questions.
Actually, I had a 2-part question. When you invited your mom to come in and live with you, did your spouse have any say in it?
I have a perfect answer and the right answer. So when I met my husband 25 years ago at Home Depot, that's a lovely story. I wish I had time to tell the story. I think I'm just going to tell it because I have to tell it. So when I met my husband 25 years at Home Depot, I said, "Dear Paul, if you ever have any thought to get serious with me, I need to be honest and tell you now before we even start dating. I am a package." And I didn't know this 25 years ago. I am a package. I have a mother that took care of me when I was growing up and gave me everything and sacrifice to make us better. And I want to one day have her move in with me and take care of her. So if you want to continue this relationship, dear Paul, just know that my mom eventually will move in with us. And they have a great relationship. I'll tell you, I have some problems sometimes because I try to find out where they are. They're at the movies. I'm like, what? They go out to eat more than I go out to eat with my husband. And my son has a phenomenal relationship with my mom. So what a great question. Thank you.
Follow-up question. That was not related, but you said that you had a 5-year span in your career where you didn't feel you were moving what inspired you towards the end of that 5 years to get moving and take the next step to the next level?
That's a great question. So I moved with the company to 9 different states. This is my 9th state. So I've moved a lot. But I am so glad that I had my mother, I had my wonderful husband and my son that supported that. Every time that I moved to a different state, I learned so much. I learned different backgrounds, different challenges. I've gone through hurricanes, to storms, snow blizzards, through earthquakes, through fires, to tornadoes, just by moving so much for the company, which gives me a competitive advantage. Remember I said there was 5 other people that are finalists for this job? I was the only one that had that competitive advantage. I'm not telling you to move. That was a choice that I made. And it helped me get here today. So as I was moving, I met a couple of people, but it wasn't until much later in my career that helped me understand the power of being an officer and a leader at the Home Depot. My passion is to help people and help others. I wanted to be a psychologist. And I believe strongly that I do that here every single day. So as I was moving, I was in Massachusetts. So think about the states. I was in Massachusetts. I was going from Massachusetts to Florida at the time. And I was walking, and we were doing a goodbye party, and a department manager for Paint this was in 2003. This was early in my career. A department manager came to me and said, Diana, I want to tell you that you've changed my life, and by doing so, you changed my family's life. And I never felt such an impact with an associate. That was my turning point. That was the point where I said, wow, I can actually do this for a lot more people. And I was just a store manager. So I started to work towards continuing to grow my career, because instead of touching 400 associates in that one store, I wanted to touch a lot more people. And now I'm responsible for about 16,000. So, thank you. Good question. Yes?
Talk about changing, your perspective and daily things. You have 15,000 people underneath you, and it sounds like with your customer service scores, you've been able to drive that mentality from people you directly impact all the way down to any other associate. How do you do that on a daily basis and create that change throughout the organization?
I had somebody yesterday that said, why is it, tell me something, you walk like you're not an officer of this company. You walk like you're not an RVP. And that actually was a compliment. Because when I walk in, I actually say hello to the person that's pushing the Zamboni around, and to the lot associate. And I take the time to stop and say, do you have enough water, lot associate? John, are we keeping you cool? Do you have the right hat? Do you have the pack that has the water for you? I walk very differently. I've been recognized for engaging people at a level that they have never seen. That alone makes an impact in the entire region, because people now want to do things for you not because of your title, but because of who you are as a person. That's what I call ultimate leadership. When I can engage with any level of associate in a store, and make an impact in their life and make them feel that they can do more what they're doing today, that's an impact. That makes a change in that individual, but think about the 20 or 30 people that those individuals touch. And it's just a ripple effect from there on. And it creates an environment. We have the least amount of, it's not a thing to be proud of, but the region has the least amount of any type of legal issues going on. When it comes to aware lines, when people are not happy in the stores, they call the aware line. We have the least amount of aware lines in the region. We have happy associates. We take the time to stop and talk to every single associate. That ripples, that effect touches everyone. Does that answer the question? Somebody else had their hand up. Yes.
You're very driven. When do you turn it off? How do you work-life balance?
I love that question. I love that question. So I'm going to be honest with you, and I know that it's being recorded, right? So I will be on record. I'm going to be very honest with you. Right now, this is all that matters. Right now, this is all that matters. I'm not thinking about anything else. you took me down a memory lane, but it was very personal with my mother. But nothing else takes me away from this moment right here, right now. This is it. Work-life balance is all about being in the moment. I am in the moment now. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I leave here, I'm not going to be thinking about you. I'm sorry. But I am going to be in a different moment. And when I get home, it's your family time. You have to turn it off. When you're at work, you've got to be a force of driving the business. Doesn't mean that you don't think about family. But when you're with your family, work is going to happen. Things are going to happen. You have to let it go. You got to turn it off. I do have to be, because of the amount of people and the responsibility of 82 stores, I have to be aware of what's going on. But I make it a promise to my family that on weekends, I have like a scheduled time where every so often I make it to the phone and I read it, not in front of my family. It's very far away from everybody. It's in a own very special pedestal, my iPhone on the pedestal. I take time away, I walk away from everybody, read it, answer whatever I need to answer, and get back to my family. You have to have quality time. If I didn't have the responsibility, I wouldn't do it. But because I have this responsibility, I do have to be aware of what's going on. But you have to turn it on. It's not about the quantity of the time. We confuse that all the time. It's about the quality. It's about the quality. I could spend 3 hours talking to you today about something, but if I don't give you quantity, if I don't give you something that's meaningful, maybe 1 or 2 things that you're going to walk away with, it was a waste of time. Do you agree? It's about the quality of the time. So I do turn it off. If I go on vacation, no one is going to catch me. And no, people usually say I go on a cruise so no one can reach me. You know what? That's wrong. You should turn it off. You're on vacation. You earned it. Turn it off. I do that. Coming back, it's a hassle because you have about 1,000 emails that you have to go through. But you deal with them. Turn it off. You've got to turn it off. If you're off, you all do something that you do things that you love to do. Take the time. If you are one of those individuals that has to have the phone with you at all times, I don't even know where my phone is. Oh, there, just because it's red. But if you're one of those individuals that has a hard time putting that phone down, I'm going to ask you to do something. Go to the movies, go shopping, go do whatever you want to do without the phone. It is going to be difficult, but you have to do it. It is very important. Be in the moment. Right now, this is the only thing that matters. Now, when I leave, somebody else will be making my own. I hope that's okay with you. You had another question.
Yes, as a woman and a minority in a leadership role, what was your greatest obstacle and how did you overcome it?
Greatest obstacle and how did I overcome it? Greatest obstacle was myself. The greatest obstacle for anyone sitting here today is yourself. Nothing else. If you believe you can, then you will. But if you don't believe, you're not going to. If you continue to allow your inner critic to get in the way and stop you from doing things and delivering on different things that you can, you'll never win. My number one obstacle in my 5 wasted years of the Home Depot career was because I did not believe that I could do it. That was an internal problem. That was not anyone else's problem. That is your number one obstacle. So if there's anything that you get out of this meeting today, in this class, please walk away with, I can do it, and I will do it. Yes?
Did you have a mentor that maybe helped you step into a leadership role? And if so, were they inside the Home Depot? Did you seek them out, or were they kind of assigned to you?
My biggest mentor growing up at the company initially was my grandmother. And she's now in heaven. Angel, she watches over me every day. But she was the one mentor that I called every single day. Every day I spoke with my grandmother. And she was so positive that it made it impossible for me to be negative. Impossible. So one thing with that, if you have people that surround you, if you have a circle of friends and you have anyone in that circle that is a negative individual, you need to help them. You need to help them, and if you cannot help them, then you need to maybe try to find a new friend. Negative people are very unhealthy. Negative people are very unhealthy. You gotta stay away from them. I surround myself with a tremendous amount of positive people. So hopefully you can also take that piece of advice. And within Home Depot, my first mentor was an RVP. That said, you can do more than what you're doing. And I'm like, oh, you see that? I guess I can. And he's now retired from the Home Depot. He achieved a very high level of position and is enjoying life. Has a boat, his family in Florida, and goes fishing every day. So I'm really, really blessed to have had him in my life. I'll tell you a really quick story. He said, Diana, you could be better than this. He had a president coming in to walk with me. This was early again in my Home Depot career. I went out, talk about image for a second. I went out and I purchased a new pair of sneakers, Nikes. They had a green little Nike sign on the sign. I was so proud of Nikes. A new pair of jeans, Tommy's. I know, I was splurging. And a polo short sleeve shirt. This Claiborne. Do we even know who that is? How pathetic. Thank you. I go and I get this outfit. Polo shirt, short sleeve, jeans, sneakers. And I am ready to go. I was a store manager. I am ready to go. I'm so excited. I'm like, I'm going to knock it out of the park. I am going to be the next district manager. This RVP that put me under his wing was my mentor. Walked into the store before the walk started. Walked into the store and did a one visual of up and down of my body. And I looked at him and I said, holy crap. I think there was a Kohl's or something next door. I said, I'll be right back. This is a true story. I left the store. He didn't say anything, and I did not say anything. I left the store. I went to Kohl's. I bought the quickest pair of ugly shoes, but they were not sneakers, brown, a pair of black pants, and some shirts. Really ugly stuff that you would have kept me wearing today. But I changed my attire. I went back to the store, and he said, thank you. He said nothing, but the way that he looked at me, okay, you believe in me, you trust that I can do the next job, I gotta do something better for myself. And I went and I spent, it couldn't have been more than $30 because this stuff was cheap and ugly. And I changed, I went back to the store. He said, thank you. He said one thing, thank you. We had a great walk with the president, and that started my career to progress. So I had to change my image. I didn't know, no one talked to me about it. Has anyone talked to you about image? People don't talk about it. We don't talk about it, but that is so important. Really good question. Did that answer the question? Mentors. So that was one. And my second mentor, as of today, is still Anne-Marie Campbell, who is the president for all the Home Depot stores. She believed in me. She saw something that I didn't see, also same thing, and she pushed me. I'll tell you that I was receiving an award on stage with Anne-Marie, and it was for customer service and performance in the region. We were on stage. She said a lot of wonderful things about me, calls me on stage. I get up on stage. She kind of, you know how people hand over the award to you? So she's holding it, I'm holding it. She turns her mic off and she says to me, on stage in front of hundreds of people, she says, this was for last year, Diana. What are you going to do differently starting today? That moment was captured by somebody. And I have that picture in my office. It's my favorite picture of all time. I looked at her with a face, I'm like, Anne-Marie, let me embrace the moment. She said, no, this is the past. What are you going to do differently starting today? And you know, when people and leaders do that to us, we take it the wrong way. We're like, holy crap, is there anything that I can do to make you happy, Jason? No, right? Nothing. We ask ourselves, we do that. We have those conversations. You know what? I embraced it, and I started saying to myself more and more and more and more. When I got to that interview and I sat down with Frank Blake and he said, why you? I had a long list of things to tell him. Why me and not somebody else? Really good question.
One last question.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
Just one though. I really want to thank you, Diana, for coming out today. And on behalf of our entire team, we couldn't be more proud of our partnership with Home Depot that dates back to the first stores in Atlanta way back when. And we all owe Home Depot so much, and we enjoy the push. You know, it is about today, it's about tomorrow, about next year, and I think one reason we've become a very good partner to Home Depot and we get better is because of the push that you and your whole team gives us, and we love that about Home Depot, that you know, you're a great retailer, provide unbelievable customer service, and you push us to get better, so I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I wouldn't call it a push, I would call it inspiration.
Yeah. Got my inner critics going on.
I want to say thank you so much for the hospitality. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to talk to all of you. It's been an honor. And if you ever need anything, you have the power to do anything you want to do. You have the power to do it. You can do it. You will do it. Thank you so much.